to get started, what's your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
My name is Paula, and I'm 71 years old, and I live in Granbury, Texas.
Great. And how did you become an Elvis fan?
Well, Diane, listen, I have been thinking about that question for not being a fan. I can't tell you, I don't know the first album I bought. I can't tell you what was the first movie. My mom and dad listened to different kinds of music, but I have always been an Elvis fan. So I can say from cradle to coffin, I'm going to be an Elvis fan.
I
Because
love
I
it.
don't read.
I love it. So, okay, I have to give people a preview of this. So, you say you've been to Graceland 5 times. You've been to Elvis Week 3 times. You saw him 3 times in concert, and then the kicker, you saw Elvis, the 2022 film, 41 times in the theater. So we're going to break that down here a little bit. So I have to start with you seeing him in concert. So can you please tell me about the 3 times you saw him in concert? Start like when did you see him?
Okay. It was in the 70s. That's all I can tell you at this point. I saw him one time in Fort Worth, Texas. I saw him in Dallas, Texas, and I saw him in Springfield, Missouri, right before he passed away.
Wow.
And younger folks who don't know about this, back in the day, you wrote a letter, you sent a check when the Dallas and Fort Worth, a check or a money order, and then they mailed you a ticket. But when I saw him in Springfield, I spent the night outside in the cold weather on a lawn chair waiting to get my ticket because I wanted to make sure I got a ticket for that concert. And I'm so glad because that was right before he passed away in August.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the first one. So what was it like seeing him for the first time, having been a fan for so long?
Well, you can only imagine the energy. A lot of the folks who have shared on here and other platforms have said, and just people when he walks into a room, I mean, he just was dynamic, and there was this build up in this crescendo, and I don't remember if there was if the Sweets sang or if there was another music act. I remember there being a comedian who was hilarious. He was absolutely hilarious and put everybody at ease in the crowd because now, being the obedient child that I was, they were constantly saying no one should come up to the stage. You've got to stay in your seat. Please don't stand up. Be nice to the people behind you. So I mean, I'm just sitting there going, okay, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. But the comedian guy just relaxed everybody, and by the time he walked out on the stage, and to me, what I remember the most, in a blink of an eye, it was over because you're so enthralled with him and you're watching every move and just the energy from the crowd. It just seemed like in no time Elvis has left the building, and you're just crushed. I mean, your heart just sinks because you're like, it's over. So, and I think to a certain extent, I will be honest here, I took those that time for granted because I was only in my 20s. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get to see him a lot more times. I'm going to see him every chance I get. And he was coming quite often to Dallas. I mean, I was in a good spot to go and see him whenever. And I regret that I didn't just like soak it all in like I should have.
So the last time you saw him, you said you saw him in August of 77?
No, it was in the summer of 77. It was before he passed, though, because it just seemed like all of a sudden he was gone. And I remember that, of course. I was living in Springfield, Missouri, and my husband at the time worked at a TV station there. And he called me at work and told me that he had passed away. And I told him, I said, stop, don't play around. And he said, no, really, Paula, he's gone. And I have in my scrapbook, I have the teletype that came across at the TV station where he worked that said he died. And I mean, I couldn't do anything until I got home after work. And then I was in front of the TV every minute that I could be and just literally sobbing. I was so sad. I was so very sad.
So I have to ask you now about the Elvis movie coming out. So, I mean, it had a huge impact on a lot of people. It brought in a lot of new fans, but I think you take the cake for the most views that I've seen. So you saw it 41 times in the theater. So please tell me the impact that that movie had on you and why you went back so many times.
Okay. When I first heard that the movie was being made, I heard that Tom Hanks was playing the Colonel. I knew very little about the Colonel. I knew more probably about Tom Hanks and what he has been in. So he was the catalyst. He was the person who got me to go to the movie because I did not, God forbid, I did not know who Austin Butler was at the time. I just didn't know who he was. Now, the younger, I think he was on something, but for me, I didn't know. Well, then, okay, so I heard that they were making a movie. He was going to play the Colonel. Then the next story I heard was Tom Hanks and his wife got sick while they were over there making the movie. So then I heard that. And then just the whole hot mess with the world being upside down. I just almost forgot about the movie. I was like, I guess I gave up. I haven't heard anything. And then all of a sudden, my phone is exploding. It's coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out. And I'm like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And I want to be there on the first day. I wanted to go on that day. But I was going to see Tom Hanks. And I had to drive an hour and a half to get there. And I met my best friend who had to drive 2.5 hours to get to the movie theater. And so we go in, and I'm a little apprehensive because I didn't want a typical Elvis movie. And I knew nothing about Baz Luhrmann. That was another thing. So I go in, and I mean, from the first moment, from the first note, from the first screenshot of Elvis up there, I was hooked. I was like, oh my word, this is going to be a fabulous movie. And then and it's sort of like the Titanic, you know how it's going to end. But I mean, what a ride. What a ride from the beginning to the end, emotionally. And for me as a fan, just going down that road. Of course, I don't remember in 56. I was only 4. But, just that whole, and I loved learning about that. Seeing how that all came to pass. And so when I got out of the movie, I had an hour and a half to drive home. So on the way home, I'm thinking, as soon as I get home, I'm going to learn anything and everything I can about Baz Luhrmann and Austin Butler. So I came home, and for 48 hours, I immersed myself in anything about the movie. And, they were all over the world promoting it and having premieres and all that stuff. Well, Baz Luhrmann, I might get emotional here, said in one of his interviews that he wanted to make a movie that was going to talk about Elvis the man, not the jumpsuits, not the Halloween costume, the man. And he wanted to make a great movie that you would go and see in a cinema in the dark. I loved he said cinema. Go to the cinema in the dark, full of strangers, and watch a great movie. And it was at that moment I thought, I'm going to see that movie as many times as I possibly can. And in my life, I have things going on. I could have seen it probably 80 times, but I had other things going on. But I saw it 41 times, and I have my tickets printed so that I can prove that I went, and so I don't forget. But I have the tickets that I went, and I got to see it. I mostly saw it here in Granbury, but I saw it in 2022 at Elvis Week in the guest house. Oh my word. Talk about a dark room full of strangers, but what an energy and kindred spirit was in that room. It was fabulous. That was probably the best time to see it. I watched it at the drive-in here. We have a drive-in here. And then the rest of the time I saw it at the theater. But one day I saw it 3 times in the same day. And the credit card company called my husband to say, has someone gotten your card? It keeps, how they give you a warning, and he called me to say, they're calling me about how many times you're going to the theater.
So you have been a fan for a very long time, as we said. So what has Elvis's presence in your life meant to you?
Well, I've just enjoyed his music. I have a little routine in the mornings. I get up, do my coffee thing, and since the movie, and since I am more tech savvy for a 71-year-old person, I I get on Instagram primarily, and I look at all of you young people that are posting stuff, and so I am thrilled that there is new Easter eggs and nuggets out there every day for me to learn more about him. So my journey is never going to be complete. I don't think it's I'm never I don't know of anybody who is an authority on Elvis because there's just too much out there. There's too much. So
And then my last question is, what does being an Elvis fan mean to you today?
I've always heard that there were fan clubs in Europe and Australia and all that. But today, now in 2024, we get to connect with all of those people who have the most wonderful stories about Elvis, about coming over here to Graceland. I mean, I'm amazed every time I go to Graceland. I meet somebody that has come further than Texas, further than California or New York, you know. I mean, they are coming from all over the world to go there and see his place and his grave and everything. So it's very, I think that is the most exciting thing about now and about this new group of people, you and your young people who are carrying the flame. You're going to carry that torch because, you know, when he's been gone 100 years, it's going to be y'all that is going to be here. And you're going to be talking about, oh my gosh, I talked to this little old lady in 2024, you know. So anyway, I'm thrilled that y'all are out there doing it. I mean, it was so much fun after the Elvis week, seeing all of you girls that had been there. And, oh, it was great. So that's what is exciting to me about it. It is the best time. You could have been, I was alive when he was here, but now in 2024 with the technology that we have, this is the best time for somebody my age to be alive and still be able to connect with all the Elvis people that are out there. It's fabulous. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Paula, for talking to me today. You have such a great perspective, and to be able to be on both ends of it, of seeing him when he was alive and now being able to participate in the community, I think is such an important journey, and an exciting journey to be on. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.